What up, my friends? Another day, I do like 4.5 miles today. Anyway, I just ran into a woman with her dog, right? So she's walking towards me. And if you go back far enough in my videos, when I first started coming out here, you know, about 3 years ago was the last time it really happened, 3 summers ago. And like I was getting into these altercations with dogs, dog owners, and stuff like that, right? And I just was walking, and a woman had her dog off the leash, and she called her dog over when she saw me and put him on the leash, which I appreciate, right? Probably no need for it nowadays, but I mean, I'll explain why. Anyway, and so we get up pretty close, and I'm like, hey, good morning, how you doing? Blah blah blah, and the dog's like, whoa, and kind of jumps forward. And I pull away a little, right? And she's like, I'm sorry, he's usually really friendly. I'm like, no, it's fine. I said, he's just doing his job, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a stranger in the middle of the woods, and you're a woman, and you got a male dog, which is probably the best bet, because they look at, the dogs look out for their masters, especially if they're the opposite sex. It's just a fact. Anyway, so like if you're a man, you should have a female dog, and if you're a female, you should have a male dog. Anyway, if you're looking for protection. So, everything's fine, and I walk around, I'm doing my second loop, and I run into her again, and she's like, and she does it again, and the dog's fine, right? And she's like, I think it was more of a hello, and I said, well, I said, for sure. I said, and I'm sure some of it has to do with you putting him on the leash, which I appreciate, I go, but sometimes it could give the dog the wrong idea, right? So it gets protective, and I understand that. I go, but then, my energy also affects the outcome of that situation, right? So like this time the dog was kind of coming towards me, and I was like, what's up, buddy? And even the other time he was pretty happy-go-lucky, but he did bark, you know what I mean? I didn't take it as like, oh, but it startles you. A little one's right next to you, so I moved a little, so I think she took that as like, it scared me. It definitely startled me, but it wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh, what the hell? But I used to be like, I would be like, I'd react all messed up. My energy would be way off. So the dog would get that. And a lot of times, don't get me wrong. There's some people with some pretty shitty dogs out here that just don't listen. They don't care. They will come after you. Anyway, but it's not the majority, right? But like, and so I would react a certain way. And that goes like with people as well, right? Like I was so abrasive, and don't get me wrong, I can still go tit for tat with some people here and there. It's a lot less nowadays. Maybe it'll be once or twice a year where I kind of have, the interaction will start off a little negative, but then I sense that and I turn my energy around and usually can recover. It's very rarely that I don't end up, talking with the person and we're like, oh, dude, sorry about that, my fault, So it's big, it's big. It's but that energy will definitely it transfers, And I'm not saying that, every person that you run into is a great person and you're going to be able to turn that situation around. Don't be a doormat. Don't let yourself, be, non, don't protect yourself. Don't not protect yourself. You know what I mean? But be aware of things. But, realize that a lot of that energy that you have, just like dogs, right? There's bad people just like there's bad dogs. For the same reasons, The bad people weren't taught the right things, just like the bad dogs weren't taught the right things. The worst in them was rewarded, And I'm not saying that people can't change. I'm a person who's changed. I'm very different now. I hate saying that. Oh, I'm so different. But other people notice. My family notices. My clientele notices. There's, general public that I run into on a daily basis. Whether they know it or not, they notice. So hey, man, I hope everybody's having a great day. It's just my thoughts for today. What's it? November 7th. November 7th. A little chilly start today, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's the only November 7th, 2025 we're getting, so enjoy it, folks. Have a great weekend.